Besides himself and the right-wing nut jobs who believe he's actually Lucifer, who was the principal target of the president's humor at the White House Correspondents' Dinner Saturday night? You may have missed it. Jonathan Alter and I will correct that next. First, reminding you that starting moments hence, the three who did not make the cut will appear in our new Twitter exclusive segment, The Tworst Persons in the World. Easiest if you follow me, as the kids say, at Keith Olbermann. Is it at or just me? Tonight's Worst Persons in the World TV version. Bronze would be Cincinnati Democratic congressional nominee David Krikorian. Friday, he won for rhetorically asking, allegedly twice, whether somebody with a name like that of his primary opponent, Surya Yalamanchili, could actually get elected. Mr. Krikorian responded, and as you will find out shortly, he might have just taken the hit and stayed down.
Keith Olbermann is a buffoon for not checking his sources, for not even bothering to check. But here's one thing I will state. For the record, last night's program was sponsored by Procter & Gamble's Oil of Olay brand, which is the exact brand that Surya Yalamanchili worked for. So how did they cover that story last night? Because I'm sure Keith Olbermann is not reading the Cincinnati Press. So our folks think that the Oil of Olay brand people, and Procter & Gamble in particular, were advancing their former employee, and that's how it got in there. I think he was reading from his script. So somehow that got put in there, and how did it get put in there? Well, if you look at the relationship between the story and the show's sponsor, I think it's pretty clear how it got in there.
Or maybe it was in the Cincinnati newspapers, bub. We don't have a sponsor. We're not brought to you by or anything. I mean, there are commercials during the show, but in fact, I don't even see the commercials in the studio. We could be running ads for Glenn Beck, and I'd never know. When we checked with the commercial traffic department, there were no Oil of Olay ads on the TV show Friday night. If you go to msnbc.com and you watch Countdown online, you might get an Oil of Olay commercial or a Toyota commercial or Oscar Mayer. They rotate them somehow. I don't know. I don't know how. In fact, I don't even know anybody who works at msnbc.com. I'm sure they're lovely people. So there's no conspiracy to keep David Krikorian out of Congress, except if hot dogs start driving Toyotas over slicks made out of Oil of Olay. Or maybe tomorrow when the voters go to the polls. Runner-up comedian Rush Limbaugh. Last week, the oil rig disaster in the Gulf was possible sabotage, he said, even though he didn't have a shred of evidence, even though sabotaging a rig 52 miles out to sea and then sabotaging a blowout preventer 5,000 feet down in the ocean would be a pretty neat trick. Today, faced with the absurdity of that idea, he switched to minimizing the out-of-control spill's importance.
I'm not trying to minimize it here. But we do have all these, the ecology does take care of itself. The seawater is pretty tough stuff. Try living in it for a while. Oil has a tough time surviving.
I guess he spent a lot of time trying to live in it. You know what else is natural, according to Rush? Hemorrhoids. Our winner, though, the chicken lady. Why has Sue Loudon's campaign to unseat Harry Reid in Nevada mismanaged the chickens for health care story? Because this next guy is her campaign manager, Robert Butoven, and he may be more tone-deaf than she is. This just in from Channel 3 in Las Vegas.
Should everybody have access to health care in this country?
Absolutely. They do. They do.
Well, if you can afford it, you do.
No, if I have a bullet hole in my chest, I can go down to UMC and I'm going to get health care.
Doctor, can you staunch the bleeding long enough for me to bring in your chickens? Nevada senatorial candidate Sue Loudon with campaign manager Robert Chickens for Bullet Hole Repair Utoven. Today's worst persons in the world.